Hi, my friend in health. This is Stephen Hewer with Synergistic Nutrition. Today, I'd like to alleviate your fears regarding the subject of viruses. So the hot topic these days that most people are concerned about is contracting a virus. And of course, it's the COVID-19 virus. And everyone's become aware that viruses have this potential for sickness, potential for lethality. So all kinds of ways and means have been instituted to protect yourself. One of them is wearing the face mask. One of them is cleaning your hands. One of them is sanitizing your surfaces. But viruses, fungus, bacteria are ubiquitous. They're throughout nature. You can't get rid of them. They're everywhere. So the best protection, I say, and I think a lot of healthcare professionals say, is your own immune system. And since we know that a person would have to be very weak in their immune system to succumb to any kind of sickness that the COVID-19 virus could create, it's most important for you to strengthen and balance your immune system. So what ways are there to do that? Well, we know that, vitamins C is important for the white blood cells to function correctly. We know zinc's role, we know vitamin D's role, but one of the natural substances in nature that's not been talked about that I've seen is the role of lactoferrin. This may be your best viral protection, as well as antibacterial, antimicrobial in general. And your own body produces it. Your tears, your saliva have it in it. Your white blood cells get activated to produce it. It's in the mucosal secretions, so it's naturally produced in our bodies. And when any animal gives birth to its child or its young, the milk production from the mammal will be rich in lactoferrin, playing a dominant role in protecting that new creature from any immune attack, to be able to defend it throughout its 2 years while a human develops over 2 years its own immune system. So I consider lactoferrin the best antiviral protection that you can take. Now, how does it work? So it works in several ways. One is that there are receptor sites on the surface of cells. One of them is called heparan sulfate, that allow for a virus to dock onto it. And since viruses can't reproduce on their own like bacteria can, viruses have to insert their genetic material into the inside of the cell and then use the machinery of the inside of the cell to replicate themselves. And to take lactoferrin, you're actually taking something that will bind to the heparan sulfate receptor site, may help prevent the penetration of the virus into the cell. Additionally, it looks like all the evidence indicates that the lactoferrin actually helps prevent replication of the virus. So if you've got two angles going on of both preventing its penetration, so in the very beginning, taking lactoferrin supplementally so that it's in high enough amounts in the body actually can prevent a virus from entering the cell. So which is the best protection of all, because then there's no actual infection, the virus is removed from the body, and you're free of it. In the event that it penetrates the cell and an infection starts, then you would want to, of course, stop the replication. So you've got that protection going on from lactoferrin, as well as the helping to prevent the penetration of the virus into the cell. So studies have been done on lactoferrin showing that when a person takes 100 milligrams of lactoferrin every day of the week for 6 days out of the 7 days a week, that their incidence of gastroenteritis caused by the rotavirus is reduced fourfold. So we know it protects the GI tract. We know it actually fortifies the immune system quite strongly. So the thing is that taking lactoferrin, you got to find a good source. And unfortunately, we know that lactoferrin naturally occurs in milk. And we also know that due to the pasteurization process of milk, the denaturing happens. Denaturing is basically the bending and twisting of the amino acids and the proteins, and that renders it no longer effective. So A protein or an amino acid has to retain the shape that nature gave it if it's going to function in the architecture of your body. And so it's just like I like to use the example of a bricklayer. So if a bricklayer receives a pallet of bricks and 50% of those bricks are bent and twisted, then he has to sift through the bricks, find the ones that are the correct rectangular shape to be able to build his wall or do his masonry work. Then he has to spend extra time cleaning up all of the 50% that he couldn't use, that he had to set aside. So it's the same thing with the human body. The human body has to work overtime when you introduce a denatured protein into the body. The body has to work overtime to get at what it can use, and then it has to work overtime to excrete all that it can't use, because all those bent and twisted amino acids and proteins are toxic to your body. So your kidneys and liver have to work overtime. Your lymphatic system, your entire excretory system has to work overtime. This is one of the reasons that people get sick, is that they can't keep up with that job. And so because people in our society don't recognize the value of things like fasting or intermittent fasting, taking the time to let the body catch up with detox, juice fasting is a real good way to do it. Juice fast 1 day a week, 24, 36 hours, or 2 days a week. This gives your body time to catch up with getting rid of all those denatured proteins that you naturally consume from eating any cooked protein. Whether it's your cooked steak, your cooked hamburger, your cooked hot dog, your cooked egg, your cooked lamb chop, whatever it is. But with regards to dairy, dairy uniquely was intended to always be left raw. And historically, that's the only way humans consumed it. And if you come, forward in time, you'll see there was nothing more than to make more money that pasteurization was brought on board. It wasn't to improve or protect people's health. And there's a good book by Dr. Ron Schmidt, the late Dr. Ron Schmidt, on this. It's called The Untold Story of Milk. And it goes through the whole history of why milk went into being pasteurized. So as I've said many times before, Green Meadow Whey is derived from grass-pastured cows raised by an Amish farmer in upstate New York. And the grass apparently is growing on very fertile soil because the chloroplast content is very high in the grass, higher than the other farms that were examined before we decided where to get the milk from. So there's nutrient density in the whey protein that we carry, and also we've never exposed the milk or the whey to heat. So it goes through a special process to ensure that it's sterilized as required by law, but that it's never been exposed to heat and damaged by heat. So Green Meadow Whey stands out in the industry as unique, and that it's truly non-denatured. So when you're talking about obtaining supplemental lactoferrin, which you can get from milk and or from whey protein and or colostrum, ideally you would want to obtain it from a dairy source that has never been heated, so that all the lactoferrin retains the shape that nature gave it. So fortunately, whey protein has about 1 to 2% lactoferrin content, which means that in each 30-gram scoop, which a 30-gram scoop comes in your container of Green Meadow Whey, you're getting 300 to 600 milligrams of lactoferrin per scoop, which is phenomenal. So now you have that lactoferrin all systemically going through the body, helping to bind to receptor sites so that the viruses that you're exposed to can't penetrate, so that your own immune system is boosted, and so that it's also able to stimulate interferon production, which is a major chemical for activating the immune system. I also talked about before how glutathione, which is the body's, you could say, master antioxidant that can decline with age, that when you raise levels back up to a more youthful and healthful level, activates T cells to do their job, which T cells can defend you from viruses and or a lot of other different things. And that nature's richest source of the sulfur amino acid cysteine is whey protein. But it's the form that the cysteine comes in, because you can go buy supplemental cysteine off the shelf in capsules and it's not going to do what whey protein can do, because the cysteine and whey protein comes in two forms. One's called cysteine, which is 2 molecules of cysteine bound together. Another one's called glutamylcysteine, which is glutamic acid bound to the cysteine, so it's a dipeptide. And in that form, it uniquely is able to get through the intestinal wall and not be used up entirely by the intestinal lining, get into the cells, and support the raising of glutathione throughout the body. And also it's able to help support, get rid of the inflammation in the intestines. And when you can get rid of the inflammation in the intestines, the body's signal to upregulate glutathione production throughout the whole body. So it's a little bit sophisticated or complicated mechanism, but whey protein uniquely can deliver the ability to nourish the body's ability to raise glutathione better than anything I've seen in my clinical practice of now 30 years. So you're not only getting muscle building support in Green Meadow Whey, you're not only getting the energy uplift support in Green Meadow Whey. You're not only getting support for glutathione production, for detoxing, getting rid of inflammation and helping your body be healthy at a cellular level from all the glutathione levels being raised, you're also supporting dramatically your own immune system competency and strength by having lactoferrin in the diet on a daily basis. All right. Thanks for your time and attention. Green Meadow Whey is available at Synergistic Nutrition. Synergistic Nutrition's website is synergisticuniverse.com, and I'm available by phone between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. I look forward to helping you on your journey to optimum health.